When you start to become complacent, you don't work as hard, you think that, oh, that's it, you've got it. Life will remind you that in the grand scheme of things, you're nothing.
If you're in your 20s and you want to get rich, you're going to need to do this one thing. This will be the deciding factor between you ending up broke versus you living a life of financial abundance. Now, I know a lot of my audience, you guys are young, you still have your whole life ahead of you, and the reason
I actually really don't like this type of advice when people say you have your entire life ahead of you. Because technically speaking, when you're 20 years old or even when you're a teenager, that's true. You're most likely not going to die at 35 or even 30 years old. However, not every year of your life is equal. 1 year of your life when you're 61 years old, it's not the same thing as 1 year of your life when you're 20 or even 25 years old. When you are in your 20s, you've got so much more time, strength, vitality, energy. You want to do more things. You typically don't have any responsibilities like having a house, having kids. You don't have to take care of a family. You can afford to take more risks. You can afford to do more things. That's the time that you want to go and chase after your dreams. Now, when you're 61 years old, well, you cannot really do the same thing that you can at 20. And also what I personally think is that if you're born in a low-income family and you want to make more money, you want to start a successful business in your early 20s, you should take those first few years, like when you're 21, 22, 23, and just focus on you. Build a massively successful business. Build your physique if you want to be fit and healthy, because long term, really, trust me, it's going to pay off. All the work that you put in right now, when you're 30 years old, you will be ahead of most people. And most importantly, you'll wake up every morning and you will just be loving your life. You'll be so damn grateful to your younger self because he or she put in the work day in, day out. And now, thanks to all of the work that you put in the past, you wake up and your life is amazing. When you wake up every day with so much gratitude because this life that you're living, it's exactly what you wanted it to be. That, in my opinion, is the best feeling in the world. So yes, while when you are in your 20s, you technically speaking have your entire life ahead of you. Because when you're a kid, you don't really get to make your own choices. It's only when you reach like 16 up to 18 or 21, depending on when you actually turn a legal adult, that you start to actually make your own choices. And even then, if you don't really have that much money, you're not really making your own choices necessarily speaking, because you'll have to obey to a boss, you'll have to do what he says, and you won't really have that much freedom. If you don't have money, you don't choose what food you eat, you don't choose where you live, you might live surrounded by people that you don't really connect with. So bottom line, if you don't have money, you don't have any freedom. However, you need to be careful because sometimes the opposite is also true. There's plenty of overworked CEOs and professionals and they make 6 figures a year. They drive the latest Mercedes or Audi to their office every day, but deep down they're miserable, and lots of them, they actually commit suicide.
why you're watching my channel is because you care about your future. You want to live a life that you're proud of. You want to go on nice vacations. You want to be able to retire your parents or even buy all the fancy things. Now, I want this video.
Now, of course, that's what everybody wants. Who doesn't want to live a life that makes you fulfilled, to go on nice vacations, to be able to retire your parents, and to buy fancy things? I know that lots of you watching my videos, it's because you want to obtain a much higher quality of life for yourself and for your loved ones. Some of you want to be able to travel the world, and to do that, you need to work from your own laptop. If you need to be at the office at 9 and leave at 5, well, it's going to be complicated to do that, to live the digital nomad lifestyle. And for some people, let's be honest, they just really want to pick their own schedule. And I do that. I've done that since many years now, thanks to my online businesses, and I can tell you, it is life-changing. When I was in school, I hated how I had to be there at a certain time, and I couldn't leave until a certain time, because somebody decided for me, because someone else made that choice for me. So I really had no freedom. I was just forced into a path that, quite frankly, was not meant for me. And for some people, fair enough, the 9 to 5 or whatever the schedule is, it completely fits them. They love their job, and even for some people, if they don't love their job per se, I mean, they tolerate it, they're fine with it. I know some people, they don't love their job, but they wouldn't want to change it for something else. And also, they would not want to become entrepreneurs, because really, aside from all of the stuff that you see on social media, the expensive cars, the jets, the vacations, I mean, really, that's a minority. That's what you need to understand. Most people who start a business, they won't actually become millionaires or billionaires. I mean, there's really only around 2,000 billionaires in the world. I don't have the exact number in mind, but it's not 3,000 people. So we're like 7 billions on the planet. So as you can see, it's a very, very low percentage. And truthfully, most people are simply not going to put in the work to make all of the necessary sacrifices that it actually takes to get rich. Now let's move on.
To inspire you guys to chase one singular thing in your 20s, and that is building up your skill sets. I have interviewed hundreds of different people, so many successful entrepreneurs, and one thing that almost everyone agrees on is the fact that you need to spend your younger years building up skills. And so we're going to explore this topic in depth in this video, and by the end of it, you'll know exactly what to do to build those skills, as well as why it's going to help you out so much in your future.
He actually has a very good point here about building up your skills. A lot of people, they just want to make money, but when you don't have any skills, it's going to be complicated, I'm not going to lie to you. And yes, technically speaking, there's plenty of side hustles that you could start without any skills. Like for instance, you could go on Fiverr and offer people to do some voiceovers. You don't need any skills to record some audio recordings. However, let's be real, that's not going to make you six figures or to make you a millionaire. However, on the other hand, if you have a skill that is in very high demand, if there aren't that many people who can supply and cover that demand, then the more money you will get paid.
So like most entrepreneurs, in my early days, I was always chasing money. I was always trying to figure out what things I could sell. For example, I sold candy back in 6th grade. That was my first real business. I used to find things that were on sale and then flip them for profit on eBay as well as Craigslist. Yeah, money was always on my mind.
Funny thing, when I was in middle school, I tried a candy business. So I would just go buy some candy at the grocery store and I would try to sell it to people, well, to students actually. And if you want to know how that went for me, I didn't even break even. Like I got very close to breaking even. Maybe I spent like $25, maybe $30 on many candies. I bought so many, trust me. And I remember I took a picture, but I displayed all the candies on my bed and I put it on Snapchat as a story because, you know, back then we had groups with people from the middle school and high school because people would talk about homework and about what the teachers said and everything. And so I posted that picture in there and basically I gave myself some free advertisement. And some people bought candies for me, but like I said, I didn't even break even. So really, it didn't really work for me.
Not just saving it, but also how I can make it. I was always so intrigued by how other people made their own money because I just didn't like spending my parents' money. It made me feel guilty.
Honestly, I felt the same way. When I was spending my parents' money, I didn't really feel good about it because it wasn't my money and they didn't really have much of it. So it's like anytime I wanted to buy something, I was always feeling scared and kind of anxious because they would always say, I mean, pretty much all of the time that, oh, it's too expensive. And I just didn't like this way of thinking because, yeah, you might not be able to afford something right now at a certain moment in time. But why should that be the case forever? I mean, are you really going to live this world without experiencing the things that you want to experience? Or I mean, having to save up and to work super hard all year or even for 2 years, 3 years just to be able to finally get that experience? I mean, yeah, maybe, but personally, that's not what I wanted. I wanted the abundance to be able to buy whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. And when you're not making your own money, like I said, you're not really making your own choices. So with money comes freedom. It's not always the case. I gave you the example of the overworked CEO or professional. They make 6 figures a year, they drive the latest car to the office, but deep down they're miserable because they're overworked. So they make a lot of money, but they have so little free time, they can't actually enjoy it. So really, what's gonna make you happy in the end? It's not money itself alone. It's money plus the freedom.
And so middle school, high school, as well as even college, I was one of the most frugal people you will probably ever meet. I was so frugal, in fact, that it was kind of annoying. Now I think this type of mindset led me to chasing money. And guys, that's not the right mindset to have when you're trying to build the life of your dreams. I get that money is an important byproduct or currency in today's world, but in my opinion, the ultimate currency today is freedom. And to achieve freedom, you need to get into entrepreneurship. And so I
completely agree with him on this. If you really want to be free, I mean, you're not going to do it with a 9 to 5. You don't have any freedom when you have one job and you have to be there at a certain time, and basically you are tied down to one geographical location. And when it comes to how much money you can make with a job, some jobs they can pay you 6 figures a year, although it really depends because you probably need a lot of skills to make that amount of money with a regular job. Whereas with a business, it's not about how smart you are or how talented you are. Now don't get me wrong, those things of course they play a part. It's kind of like saying that if you're born with richer parents, that it won't be easier for you to build a successful business, as opposed to if you come from a really low income family and you barely have any money to start your business. Obviously the difference is night and day. If your starting point is better, it's going to be easier, to get to the next level. Although to some degree, if you were born in a super wealthy family, you might have actually no drive and no ambition because you've had all of your needs covered from the very start. So it can be a double-edged sword. But yeah, if you really want to obtain freedom, you need to start a business, and not just any type of business. Because to give you an example, I was at the gym this morning and I've been seeing this ad that they have in the gym. It's on display, like it's this big poster thing, and it says that if you want, you can open up one of their gyms. They tell you how much you need to invest. It's like 100k at least, and there's like 700k in profit. And I think that in Q1 of the year or something like that, they made 700k profit. So they really explained what it would be like to invest and to start your own gym. And while that can be great because if you have multiple gyms, well, it can make you some nice passive income. You could hire other people to look after the gym for you so that you don't have to go and be there yourself physically. You can have other people manage stuff for you. But if you wanted to open up a restaurant or something, yeah, it's a business technically speaking. Like lots of people, they don't see a restaurant as a business. They think, oh, it's just a place to go and to get some drinks, to get some food. But no, it is an actual business. But if you wanted to open up a restaurant, you would need at least, 50k in startup capital. Now, of course, it's going to depend on the city, on the size of the restaurant, on the type of food that you want to make, and there's so many variables to take into consideration. But if you wanted to start an online business, you could usually start it for less than $10,000, even less than $5,000. There's businesses that you can start online for less than $1,000, and some businesses, quite frankly, you can even start them for free. Like if you start to make YouTube videos, you can start for free. You can even use use your phone and a window as a light source, you don't have to spend any extra money. And the thing is that businesses, compared to regular careers, you can make an exponential amount of money. With a career, typically, as you become more skilled as the years go by, you'll start to make a bit more money. But it's not exponential. It's not like at some point the growth is going to be absolutely crazy and you'll make so much money you don't even know what to do with it. However, with the business, I mean, the sky isn't even the limit. People love to say, oh, the sky is the limit. In reality, there is no limit. You could make $1 million a day. You could even make 10 million per day. Or you could make zero. But really, the freedom comes from the fact that you can work from anywhere in the world and there are no limits. You can pick your own schedule.
Back to my younger self, you guys are probably in a similar situation. You want to make money. You're sort of chasing money just like I was. And guys, that's amazing. That's really great. But if you tweak this mindset just a little bit, it's going to absolutely be a game changer. So instead of thinking of what's in it for me financially, think of it in terms of what's in it for me skills wise. What can I actually learn from what I'm doing? Basically, I thought that I was trying to build businesses, but in hindsight, I was actually just building skills. And so yes, most of these businesses, they didn't end up doing that well, or I stopped doing them later on, which is totally okay. But I was left with the skills that I learned from doing those businesses.
He's touching on something really important, your skill set. Before I actually started my consulting business, I started a lot of different businesses that actually failed. To give you an example, I tried to sell Instagram pages. I also tried drop shipping with ads, also with organic marketing at the time on Instagram, and we actually made a couple sales. But those businesses, they were not profitable. They all failed. At some point, I also had another YouTube channel, but I really hated the topic that I was making videos on. So at the end of the day, it wasn't profitable. So I just gave this one up. However, something really worth mentioning is that every time I started a business, I learned skills. And then even when I started another business that had nothing to do with the first business that I started, for instance, with the previous business, I was still able to use the skills I had learned, the information I had learned to make the next business better. And if I'm able to make videos like this today, it's because, well, like I said, I had another YouTube channel and I quit on this one because it was a topic that really I was not passionate about. So even if you start a business right now, and let's say that for whatever reason it fails, you need to understand that it's not dramatic. If you're young, you can just rebound quickly. And especially if you started an online-based business, especially a service-based business, because those businesses, they typically require less than $100 to start. If you really have no money, you can watch YouTube tutorials and you can just figure stuff out on your own. I mean, lots of entrepreneurs, that's what they had to do. Of course, if you've got the money to pay for knowledge, well, it's going to be 10 times faster to reach your goal and you'll avoid many pitfalls. And that's why we help people to start and to grow their own consulting businesses. I've made a free video in which I analyze every popular business model to figure out which one is the best to start for beginners. So we take a look at all of the popular online business models, affiliate marketing, dropshipping, and lots of others. We analyze the pros and the cons to figure out which one is the best and which one should you start. And I also give you the 3-step process that you can use to start getting consulting clients today. If you're interested, the link to the free video is in the description below.
And so instead of going to your 20s thinking, hey, I want to start this business, I want to do this and that, chasing all the money, instead tell yourself, I'm going to do these businesses not because I want to make money, but because I want to chase those skills that I can learn. And those skills are going to allow me to build my future business, which is going to be the real moneymaker.
Honestly, you don't have to tell yourself, oh, I'm starting this business just to learn, not to make any money. Because if you're starting a business, obviously the end goal is to actually make it profitable, to make money with it. However, another shift in mindset I would like to invite you to have, it's that if you fail this business for whatever reason, like you work really hard on it for 6 months, and I mean really hard, you don't just half-ass things, you work as much as you need to work. Like a lot of people, they ask me, how many hours a day should I work? And when I got started in business, I often wondered, well, how many hours should I be working? In reality, you're focusing on the wrong metric. Do you really think that Jeff Bezos, when he was building Amazon, he was thinking, how many hours do I need to work? No, he just had a list of things to do and he did them. That's it. He completed the task and it took as long as it took. So what I invite you to think is that, okay, if I fail this business, at least I will have learned a lot of valuable lessons, I will have improved my skills, and the next business that I start, it might be the one that makes me 6 figures a year or $1 million.
Everything I did before, they pale in comparison to the businesses that I do right now. And that's because I took all the skills I learned from those businesses and I applied them to what I'm doing today. And I guarantee you, if you do that, you are going to land on one successful business that is going to change your life. For me, it was making a content-driven business. And for you, it's likely going to be something that you haven't even thought of today.
It's true because oftentimes life is really just so unpredictable. Like you think things are going to happen one way, but then in reality, they happen a completely different way. You might think that, oh, this business, dropshipping, it's going to make me $1 million a year. In reality, you don't know. And at the end of the day, do you really care how you make that $1 million or how you get to 10K per month? As long as you, well, get to that level. And as long as it's not something that you hate doing, that it's something that you can see yourself doing for like at least a decade. Like a lot of people say that, oh, it's not the destination that matters, it's the journey. But what I personally think is that if you didn't care about the destination in the first place, you would never go on that journey. Like a lot of people are going to say, oh, I'm just in business to impact other people. Well, to be honest, honest, I'm in business to make money and to have a better life, and I'm also in business to help others to achieve the same. People often lie about their motivations. They think their motivation needs to be pure. However, let's face it, if you're in business, you want a better life for yourself, and there is no shame in admitting that. And also, it's very right that you could fail like 10 businesses, but your 11th business, it could be the one that changes your life forever. I don't know if you've ever seen this picture, like on Instagram or on social media, it was really popular, of somebody, actually two people, mining for diamonds. There's one guy, is going hard, he's mining hard, and he's about to get the diamond. And there's another guy, he's too tired, you know what, he gives up when he was right about to get the diamond. And that really goes to show you, you never know how close you are to actually making it. So that's the reason why I highly believe that you must never give up. And oftentimes, if something is not working, well, you really need to ask yourself, am I giving it my everything? Am I really working super hard at this thing? Or could I have done more and better, and I'm just really not willing to push myself? One business is all it takes to change your life forever.
So don't think that whatever your business you're trying to start right now is going to be the thing you're doing forever. Likely you might make some money, it might not do well, who knows? But these are all stepping stones that lead us to the ultimate business that you'll start later on in your life. And that business, you guys, is what you're truly aiming for.
What got you here will not get you there. I'm sure you've heard this before. The business that gets you to $10,000 a month, it's not the same business that is going to get you to $1 million a day most of the time. To give you an example, if you wanted to start an e-commerce brand, and I'm not talking about selling some crappy AliExpress products online on a Shopify store, I'm actually talking about building a real, a legit e-commerce brand. In starter capital, you will need at least $50,000, $100,000. So obviously when you're broke, you come from a low-income family or from the middle class, maybe you work a 9 to 5, maybe you don't even have a job, you're a student, you don't have enough money to start that business. And personally, I didn't want to get in debt, like even just 1K in debt. I've never been in debt, never will be, because personally, I could never sleep peacefully at night if I had like 50K in debt or any debt whatsoever. I want to be in control of my finances, and I really want to have freedom. The more debt you have, even if it is what experts call good debt, in my opinion, the less freedom you have. Because at the end of the day, you still owe somebody money, and things could go wrong. Even the smartest and the wisest investors on the planet, sometimes they lose millions and billions of dollars, because everyone makes mistakes. That doesn't mean you should never go and take any risks. No, not at all. However, you should take wise and calculated risks. You don't want to take a risk just for the sake of taking a risk. It's like you don't want to suffer just for the sake of suffering. If you want to be mentally tougher, then you can go to the gym, lift some weights, lift some heavy stuff. You'll feel better, you'll become mentally tougher, physically fitter, but I wouldn't advise that you break your leg just to suffer and, become mentally tougher. It wouldn't make any sense. Like I know some people, they just want to suffer, not for anything else. There's no end goal. There's no point. If you're going to suffer, at least suffer for something better in the future. Suffer for a cause that is worthwhile.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about skills. So in today's economic society, people's value really depends on the things that they're able to do, the things that they know, and the things that they can build. As we go through life, we develop new skills, new knowledge, and new practical applications of said knowledge. That's really why some people peak after high school or college. It's just because they stopped learning things. They thought, oh, I know everything there is to know in life. And so instead of learning new things constantly, I'm just going to try and apply what I know already into a business or my knowledge.
A lot of people say knowledge is power, and I don't actually agree with this at all. I personally think that knowledge plus massive execution, application is power. Because you could read lots of books on lots of subjects, you'd be really smart, you could have a nice intellectual conversation. But at the end of the day, if your goal is to have a successful business, a fulfilling life, unless it's a hobby of yours to just learn a bunch of things and to not use them, that's not what I recommend that you do. And in business, in fact, the less you know sometimes the better. Why? Because overthinking is single-handedly going to destroy your ability to make money and to build a successful business. Yes, you need to think, you need to plan things in advance to some degree, but if you overdo it, you'll never move forward. At the end of the day, if you want to start your own online business, you need to put one foot in front of the other, and you need to start right now. You know why? Because every day that you're not starting, you're wasting that day. And it might not look like it's that much on the short term, because after all, well, it's just one day. But day after day, well, those days, they compound. And that's exactly how I ended up procrastinating, starting the very business that changed my life for more than 7 months, just because I was afraid of rejection. And another thing that he said is that as we go through life, we learn more things, we get more skills, we get better at doing certain things, and therefore we get paid based on the value that we can provide. And that's exactly true. I mean, the only difference between somebody making burgers at McDonald's and a lawyer, and the difference in how much they're getting paid, is their difference in skills and in knowledge. Because you could, technically speaking, take anyone off the street, and within a few hours, they could be making burgers for literally any fast food joint. However, you cannot just take anyone from the street and turn them into a great, competent lawyer in just a few hours. It's never going to happen.
9 to 5 job. This is so dangerous because it effectively means that they stop learning. When you stop learning, you stop developing skills. When you stop developing skills, that's when you stop growing. And that literally is when you get crushed by other people.
He's completely right. If you stop learning, you won't know what's coming. If you want to be the best at something, to dominate the market. You always have to be at least 10 steps ahead of the competition. You've got to know what's going on in your market. You need to keep yourself informed. When you start to become complacent, you don't work as hard, you think that, oh, that's it, you've got it. Life will remind you that in the grand scheme of things, you're nothing. And the second you stop learning and striving to be better, to improve yourself, somebody who is hungry for success, they will take your spot.
Those that do super well in life, I can guarantee you they are lifelong learners. They are curious. They love building new skills. They love learning new knowledge. And when you continuously have this mindset, all these things, they compound on each other. They grow inside your head and they allow you to be this ultra high impact person that can really make money and make businesses and make big change in this world. So now you're probably wondering, why are skills so important and how do they actually relate to the business that I want to build? Well, behind every single business, there is a skill, right? A business, when you strip it down to its fundamentals, is an exchange of value. The business has a product or a service that they give to other people, and those people in exchange give money or some other type of currency. Anything of value has a skill behind it, otherwise it wouldn't be valuable. So for example,
the funny thing is that people often say that, oh, if you want to make more money, you've got to be a specialist in this one specific area. Like they often give you the example of the brain surgeon compared to the general practitioner. The brain surgeon or the neurosurgeon, they're going to make significantly more money than the general practitioner. That's obvious. I've given that example myself a couple times. However, when you're starting a business, it's different. Now, if you have employees, it's again a different story, but I'm speaking to you right now because you probably just want to start an online business to get to 10, 20, maybe 50k per month, but you probably don't have 50k or even 10k to invest in starting your business. I know that I didn't. I had what, maybe even less than $500 in my bank account. That's what I had at the time. So when you're just starting out like that, you can't really afford to hire anyone to delegate anything, any part of the work. You have to do everything yourself. And to be honest, that's what sucks when you're beginning, you're starting your own business. It's really that you've got to do everything yourself. So you have to be polyvalent. And that's why at the beginning, you must not be an expert at one thing. You will have to wear many hats to have many different skills. For instance, if you start a consulting business, you will need to reach out to people. You'll need to market your brand. You'll need to take on sales calls. However, it's relatively easy because you just need to follow a sales script, a simple structure that we give you, and then you'll have to worry about service delivery and customer support. Now, when it comes to service delivery, you can usually outsource that to a freelancer because the client has already paid you. So then you can hire somebody to take care of that part for you.
If I wanted to go out and start an app company, I just wouldn't be able to do it. And the fundamental reason why is because I don't know how to code. I don't have that skill set. Yes, I could go out and hire people to code for me, but as a CEO, I won't understand what's being done. I'm gonna have no way to check their work, and that's basically how you get got. If I want to be really successful with whatever app I'm building, I would go ahead and learn how to code. Or we will talk about this later on more, but you can partner with someone that you can really trust. But for 99% of you guys watching this, you are still trying to start your first real business, and to do so and to be successful at it, you're gonna need that skill. So today I've built up a good amount of skills, but I am nowhere near where I want to be in terms of the things.
The thing that's amazing with skills is that you can learn skills. Like a lot of people, they don't start a business because they have so many misconceptions about business as a whole, and a lot of other people, they don't start a business because quite frankly, they don't want to. I'm not going to push this idea that entrepreneurship is made for everyone and that you should be a business owner and that the neighbor should be a business owner and that this and this person should be a business owner, because this is not what I believe in. Most people, they are fine with having a job, and there is nothing wrong with that. We need entrepreneurs just like we need employees. However, what matters is that you ask yourself one question: which one do you want to be? What do you want your life to look like? And then you want to pick the option that is best for you. And usually, the more risks you take, the higher the potential reward. That's why entrepreneurs are way more likely to become millionaires than regular employees. Even though technically speaking, some jobs they can make you 6 figures a year, even 7 figures a year in some cases.
The things I want to know. And so my skills today, they allow me to build a limited set of companies or businesses, but there are still so many other businesses in the world that I just can't make. But as I keep developing new businesses, I will be able to do more things. And learning skills doesn't just allow you to build a business, it's going to allow you to build a business within a business. For example, with my online education company, if I were to learn how to code, then I could potentially teach other people how to code. I could start creating an app that would help people learn different skills. You sort of get the point, right? The skills that you're building, the sole purpose is not just to help you start a business. It's going to help you be able to grow whatever current businesses you already have or start in the future. Now, how do you actually build skills? This is a really important part of.
There's actually 2 ways to make money with a skill that you have. You can either make money by practicing your skill. Like for instance, if you're really good at making Facebook ads, you could make money by making Facebook ads for other people. Or another way to make money with your skill is to teach other people how to make great Facebook ads. Because if you are making the ads yourself on Facebook for, let's say, e-commerce brands, there's only so many brands that you can work with at a given time. So if you were to teach people how to run Facebook ads, then you could impact a lot more people, because you could simply record videos and just teach the entire process, and you wouldn't have to trade your time for money anymore. more. That's why online courses are so powerful. Now, if you're thinking about starting an online course on whatever topic just because you think it's a great business model, let me tell you, it is very hard to succeed with. And the hardest part really, it's getting customers. Truthfully, when you don't have a big brand, a solid audience, people are not going to trust you necessarily, and they will request that you do the work for them. So you really have to first do the work for somebody, and then you can transition to teaching somebody who is willing to learn that skill that you have so that they can go off and use it for themselves. It can be maybe a fitness skill, a cooking related skill, business related skill. It can literally be anything. But first you need to practice that skill yourself, and then you can transition to teaching that skill to other people. And this is what will allow you to get to other levels of wealth.
Part of this video, and I know I've sort of really tried to drill into your head just how important skills are, but there are really great ways to learn skills and there are really bad ways to learn skills. The really bad way to learn skills is to just go out and watch a lot of content, read a lot of books, get help from a mentor, but not actually apply it. I think this is what most people do. I'd say at least 95% of people. And that's because learning things by itself, it's pretty comfortable, right? You are sitting at your home on your computer, staring at a screen, reading things or watching things. That's pretty easy. Now, what most
It's true. I mean, most people, when they watch even an educational YouTube videos like the type of videos I make, I have literally on my channel detailed tutorials on how to start a consulting business. But most people, to be honest, they just watch a YouTube video, even if it's, like I said, educational, and they don't have a notebook, they're not writing notes down, and they're not really going to apply the teachings that they learned in their business or in their life. And that's why they don't make any progress. You can have all the theory in your head. If you don't apply it, it is worthless. Knowledge is not power unless you execute on that knowledge and ruthlessly.
people don't do is take that knowledge and actually apply it in the real world. And that's what's going to separate learners from doers. And so what I recommend doing is you want to spend the morning watching YouTube, learning things, reading books, whatever it is. And what you're going to do is in the afternoon, you're going to take that knowledge that you learned that day and actually do something with it. Therefore, you have this sort of cycle where you're learning, applying it, learning, applying it, and so on. This is basically how I learned how to make websites. I would watch tutorials online in the morning and then go ahead and use that knowledge and actually build websites. So as of today, I have built dozens of websites.
A lot of people, they don't start a business because they think, oh my god, but what if there is this issue that pops up in my business? Or, oh, but what if that software doesn't work? Well, you need to understand that really, if you're just trying to solve imaginary problems in your head all of the time, you will never get started and you will never do anything. Why? Because you can come up with every possible scenario, every possible problem, every possible thing that could go wrong. Your brain is very good at making problems up in your own head, believe me. Why? Because it doesn't actually care about you reaching your goals. The only thing it wants to do is to keep you safe. And how does it successfully do that? By making you think that things are actually more scary than they really are. Like most of the things that you fear, they never actually happen. Like a little while ago, I think a couple years ago, I started to really just surpass all of my fears. I wanted to become invincible because I thought if I did that, I would definitely crush all of my goals, especially my business and fitness related goals. And so I started to just force myself to overcome that fear and that fear. And the funny thing is that when you have a fear, you think that it's gonna be this super scary moment to face that fear. When in reality, what I found personally is that whenever I faced the fear, I was just like, are you seriously kidding me? Is that it? And then I was thinking, I should have done this 5 years earlier. So when people tell you you have your entire life ahead of you, you're young, just relax, honestly, don't listen to them, especially if you want to achieve the extraordinary. I mean, if you want to become a millionaire in your 20s, 30s, 40s, it is extraordinary. Less than 1% of the world's population is a millionaire. And the top 1%, they don't actually even make $1 million a year. It's closer to $800,000. So if you want to achieve the extraordinary, you cannot actually listen to common sense, ironically. Because if you do what most people do, you will not be able to get different outcomes.
Almost all of them no longer exist, but by building those websites, I learned how to build websites. And so now anytime I start a business and that business ultimately needs a website, I'm going to be in a very advantageous position. You can literally apply the same exact concept to pretty much any skill out there. And so whether or not you want to learn a new language, learn how to code, learn how to do copywriting, learn how to use AI tools, whatever it is, learn how to do these things in the morning and then go ahead and actually apply those skills into the real world. And another tip I have for you guys is if you are learning things, write it down. If you don't write something down, it's like you never learned it. You guys can probably relate to this if you listen to podcasts or watch YouTube videos. Yes, you're getting that information into your brain, but that information, if you don't repeat it, if you don't go ahead and write it down and look at it later, it's going to almost completely disappear. And so after I started doing this, when I listen to podcasts, once a week, I'll go through my notes and relearn the things that I wrote down. Everything I write.
And that's super important because you can just watch a lot of videos, watch a lot of podcasts, interviews, but really, if you don't write stuff down, you don't have like notes on your computer or on a notepad, you won't actually remember most of the stuff that you heard about. And fair enough, when you read a book or you watch a video, 80% of it, it might actually not teach you anything new. However, if it teaches you even just one thing that is going to help you to to get unstuck. For instance, maybe you had a business problem, and because of that one insight, you can actually just move forward, get rid of that issue. It is super worth it. And to be honest, whenever you watch a video, podcast, even maybe this video right now, you should just write down what are the main 3 lessons that I learned and that I can apply starting today in my business or in my life to move forward and to get the results that I want. Because if I really want you to take away one thing from this video, it's that you need to take massive action. And oftentimes your goals, they will take so much more action, perseverance, and time than you thought they would to reach them.
Down is written down for a reason, because I think it's going to help me at a future date. So use your phone, buy a notepad, buy a binder, whatever works for you. Figure out a way to translate what you're learning into something that's physical, something that you can reference later on. And then going back to...
The funny thing is that when I was reading non-fiction books, I still do, but at some point I was really reading every night religiously. I didn't really know how to take notes. So I would just try to write stuff down, like I would write entire sentences, and sometimes even I would write down entire paragraphs from the book. But what I found is that really I didn't even go and look back at my notes, because it was like I just rewrote an entire paragraph that was already in the book. So instead what I do now is that if there's a quote that I really like, that it's very impactful, I'm going to underline it. And usually I use a Kindle, so it's even easier to do. But what I am also going to do is to write down the main takeaways. Like I said, if I have 1, 2, or 3 lessons that I take away from this book or from this video, this article, this whatever, this interview, it is amazing.
How you guys can learn skills fast, because if you're watching this, you probably have a lot of things that you want to learn. You feel like there's not enough time, and you sort of get this like analysis paralysis that is super common with people. Trust me, I've experienced it myself. As you guys will notice, when you build more and more skills, it's going to make learning other skills a lot easier. That's just pretty much how it goes. You essentially have more context to be able to understand different things. So if you're starting out and you're trying to learn skills for the first time, yes, it will be a little bit more tough at the beginning, but just know that as you learn more skills, it's going to get easier. For example, for me, if you guys have seen any of my other videos on this channel, I do a lot of street interviews. I go out and interview random strangers and ask them how much money they make, what they do for a living, stuff like that. Now, that did not come naturally to me, you guys. I had to learn how to do that. And so I'd spend the mornings watching other interview videos. I took courses on how to interview. I watched so many podcasts on this topic. And yeah, that was all step 1. But step 2 is really where I learned how to be a pretty good interviewer, I'd say. I took that knowledge and I just went outside and I did it. I'd say that in this case, I had a good amount of grit and I was able to put my ego aside. So a lot of you guys watching this video, one reason why you may not be able to go outside and actually apply whatever skill you're learning is because you are scared of failing and you are scared of how other people are going to judge you if you fail. It is so important for you guys to remove your ego and just go for it. I want to play this clip because it really stood out to me when I interviewed this person at...
The funny thing with skills and learning stuff is that you might see somebody and you think, wow, they're so confident, or wow, they're so great at what they do. You might see somebody at the gym, they're really jacked, and you wonder, wow, they're so great, like how could I ever be like that? But what you don't really realize is that it takes years to get to that point. And really what it takes more than years, it's practice, consistent, regular, repeated practice. When you see somebody who seems very confident, very fluent on camera, they don't make any mistakes and all, well, probably there's a lot of editing to begin with, of course, but also they practiced day in, day out. And that's how you get really good at something. If you have social anxiety, or if you don't really like to talk to strangers, it's not going to just magically go away on its own. You have to practice day in, day out. It's only with practicing something that you will get better at it.
Oh, and just go for it. I want to play this clip because it really stood out to me. When I interviewed this person at Coachella, it really blew my mind because it was so simple, yet so life-changing.
Nobody is thinking about you. They're all thinking about themselves. So get over any of that stuff. Get out there. Just be you and you'll attract your tribe.
So after you get over that...
It's true. Nobody cares about you. I mean, said like that, it can sound offensive to be honest, but nobody cares about you. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I just mean that when you're so scared to talk to someone, to ask someone for something, or to start your own YouTube channel, to show your face to the world, to expose your personality to the rest of the world, you think, oh my god, everyone is looking at me and stuff. But no, they're not. Nobody cares. And that is excellent news. Why? Because then you can be yourself. You can do what you want and people don't care. If some people like you, great. If some people don't, why should you care? You'll find somebody else who likes you anyway. When you realize this, you will become invincible because you will not be so scared of what other people might think of you anymore. Because you realize it simply doesn't matter. And everyone that you know right now, everyone that is alive on planet Earth in a couple centuries will all be gone anyway. So really, if you're scared to do something because of the judgment of other people, realize that it doesn't matter anywhere. And when you fully realize it, it's going to be freeing.
Mental mindset block. The next thing you're going to need is grit. And I'll let Andrew Pascal, who's someone I interviewed, actually explain this. What is a trait that you see over and over again in successful people?
Grit. Don't give up. Don't look at failures as setbacks. Look at them as opportunities to learn something and evolve and then just keep moving forward. So grit, without a doubt.
And yeah, it's true.
100%. I mean, if you really want to succeed in anything, whether it be sports, whether it be business, or even if you want to have a successful relationship, you cannot just give up after the first hardship. You'll never obtain anything in life, especially the extraordinary, if you just always quit because it's too difficult. I used to be a massive perfectionist, so I completely understand if you don't want to get started on starting a business, for instance, because you don't feel ready. However, you need to understand that it's only with taking massive action day in day out ruthlessly that you will ever get a shot at getting what you want. And then in my opinion, the only way to never get what you want, it is to give up. Like I said, you will never know how close you are to making it big. So for that reason, you really never want to give up.
I needed grit to actually force myself to go out there. It's not easy. It's definitely going to be out of your comfort zone to apply whatever knowledge you learn. But guys, that is the most important part. Another thing I am really not good at is sales and cold calling. I'm just really not good at convincing other people I have some type of skill or worth that will help them. And one of the first examples of this was when I was a tutor. So after college, I was a part-time tutor. That was one way that I made my money. And I remember one day my rate for one of my students, it was $50 per hour. So pretty good. I remember I was doing a session with her and then her dad came in. Her dad is a CEO. He is a multi-millionaire. And he was basically like, Charlie, you're charging too much. I need you to charge less. And so instead of telling him, hey, I'm worth $50 because X, Y, Z, I sort of just crumbled. And in the end, my rate went back down to $35 an hour. I was unable to sell myself, and that moment still really sticks with me. If you think about the impact that one conversation had, that one lack of a skill had on me, it was a lot of future money, right? And so that's when I realized, okay, sales is actually really important. And that's when I started listening to podcasts about it, watching YouTube videos, and all that stuff. Now I'm still
literally in business, anything that you do, you're actually selling. Even when I'm making a YouTube video like this one, it's selling. I'm actually selling something because I'm promoting my own business. Whenever you watch a YouTube video, there's an agenda behind it. Yes, they want to bring value and they might really love what they do, but also they want to promote their business usually. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how businesses get attention. So you've got to be willing to be bold enough and to put yourself out there and to state your price confidently. Because at the end of the day, if you want to make it big, you should not be paid anything less than what you are worth.
I'm not that great at sales, and it really comes down to because I just don't do it enough. Yes, I've been learning about it on the sidelines, but I'm not actually going out there and applying that knowledge. That's why I have sort of failed at learning sales. I just really hope that my story can sort of inspire you because, hey, we're all going through things like this. We're all struggling with the practical applications because that is the hardest part. And yeah, you guys might see me doing pretty well, going out there, interviewing people, doing stuff like that. But I faced all these struggles myself too, but eventually got over them because I actually went outside with grit and applied it. One of my favorite quotes is this one: stay afraid, but do it anyway. What's important is the action. You don't have to wait to be confident. Just do it, and eventually the confidence will follow. Don't gaslight your fear, acknowledge it, and get over.
That's so true. You might think that, oh, you need to be confident before you do something. But in reality, confidence comes after doing something repeatedly for many, many times. Like when you go to the gym, the first time you go to the gym, you might have something called gym intimidation. It means that you're basically scared, afraid, because you're feeling insecure in that place. You might see other people, they're jacked, and you feel insecure about your own body because you might not be. You might be skinny or overweight. But if you wait until you feel confident to go and sign up for a gym membership and to start exercising regularly at your local gym, you'll never actually do it. So bottom line, put all of your fear aside. I know it's easier said than done, and just get started. In spite of how you feel. Don't wait until you feel differently. Instead, act differently, and then you will feel differently. That's how it works, not the other way around.
Over that hump that everyone experiences. Another quote that really stuck out with me is one that Tom Bilyeu said. I actually got to experience this live in person, and it definitely changed my life. He basically said, if you have your skills, you'll be good. Identifying as a learner means you will always have self-respect. And yeah, it's true, right? The fundamental thing about business is that it's all based on skills. So what I want you guys to take away from this video is...
I remember that sometimes I used to be scared because I thought, oh my god, but what if I can't do this? Or what if I can't do this? But then I realized, well, I can just learn. When you realize that you can learn literally pretty much anything, well, you have no more blockages, no more excuses. If somebody can do it and they have less time than you and more responsibilities, then you literally have no excuses and you can do it too. Most of the time, if you're not working harder, not reaching your goals, you simply have an excuse. I'm sorry to break it to you. But at least before you give up, you need to force yourself to take action and see whether you can do it or not. And even then, don't just give up after one try. Now, if you really enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I would love to exchange with you guys to know what you think. Leave a like if you would like to see more videos like this one. And if you want to learn how you can start your own online business, like I said, I have recorded a free video. The link is in the description below. We're going to analyze every popular online business model to figure out which one is the best invest to start for beginners. We take a look at the pros and the cons, and I'm also going to share with you the simple 3-step process that you can use to start your own consulting business today, even if you barely have any money to invest. With that said, as always, I am waiting for you on the other side.